The gymnasium fell deathly silent as Warden Hayes stepped onto the podium, clutching a single sheet of paper. His hands shook, but his voice boomed with authority. "Attention, inmates," he began, but the words that followed cut through the room like a knife. "The United States government has chosen this facility for a critical medical program. Starting immediately, every inmate in this prison will participate in experimental trials for a new drug virus treatment. This may be humanity's only hope to survive the pandemic sweeping the nation." A cold wave of panic hit the room. Inmates froze, then erupted. "What the hell?" yelled Marcus, his voice cracking. "You can't do this to us." Jason slammed his fists against a metal bench, shouting, "We're not lab rats. We have families." The warden swallowed hard. "Orders come from the top. Noncompliance is not an option." At the back of the hall, Daniel Parker, quiet and calculating, leaned against the wall, eyes scanning every terrified face. Fear churned through the crowd, but in him, something else took hold: clarity. Survival wouldn't come by obeying. He had to act, and fast. A plan began to form in his mind, a plan that could turn this nightmare into a chance for escape. As the warden's words hung in the air, chaos exploded. Inmates surged forward, fists swinging, chairs thrown. The gymnasium transformed into a battlefield. Marcus lunged at the nearest guard, his anger raw and uncontrollable. Jason grabbed a metal bench, using it as a shield against the rushing wardens. Shouts, screams, and the deafening clatter of clanging metal filled the room. "Hold them back," Warden Hayes yelled, but even he sounded uncertain. The trained guards were outnumbered, overwhelmed by sheer panic and desperation. Fear had turned into rage. Amid the turmoil, Daniel Parker stayed calm. He moved through the chaos like a shadow, observing weaknesses in the guards' formation, noting which doors were unguarded, where escape might be possible. His mind raced. Every punch thrown, every table overturned, became part of his mental map, a strategy forming in real time. "Don't just fight. Think," he shouted to a small group nearby, their faces etched with terror. "We need a plan, not just violence." In the distance, alarms blared, red lights flashing. The riot had begun, and the prison was descending into a storm of panic. But Daniel knew this wasn't just a riot. It was the opening he needed to save everyone. The riot raged, but Daniel Parker's mind was sharper than the chaos around him. He ducked under swinging fists and leapt over overturned benches, all while memorizing guard rotations and unlocked doors. Every second counted. He knew this announcement wasn't just a threat. It was a death sentence if they did nothing. He spotted a cluster of frightened inmates huddled near the gym's side exit. Many were panicking, eyes wide, frozen in terror. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. "Listen to me. This isn't about fighting anymore. If we move carefully, we can get out, together. But we need to stick to my plan." Some looked skeptical. "What plan?" a young man demanded, his voice trembling. Daniel's gaze was steady. "One step at a time. Guards are distracted, doors are unlocked, and the ventilation system isn't fully secured. If we coordinate, we can lead everyone to safety without anyone getting killed." Around him, chaos still reigned, but a spark of hope ignited. His words, calm but commanding, drew attention. For the first time since the announcement, fear gave way to possibility. Daniel's plan wasn't just a dream. It was a lifeline, and everyone willing to listen became his first allies in a desperate bid for freedom. Daniel led his small group through the chaos, ducking behind overturned tables and weaving between panicked inmates. Each step was calculated. The gym doors were nearly in sight, but the guards, still reeling from the initial riot, were regrouping. "Stay low, stay quiet," Daniel whispered, gripping the arm of Marcus, whose usual fury was tempered by trust in Daniel's calm. They moved like shadows, slipping past stunned wardens and terrified inmates who hadn't yet joined them. Suddenly, a guard spun around, flashlight slicing the darkness. "Stop right there," he shouted. Instinctively, Jason threw a chair, creating a brief diversion, and the group sprinted toward the side corridor. Heartbeats pounded in their ears. Daniel paused just inside the corridor, peering ahead. "We're not safe yet," he said. "The ventilation shafts lead to the maintenance tunnel. It's narrow, risky, but it's our only shot." One by one, the inmates followed him into the shafts, shuffling silently, bodies pressed against cold metal walls. Fear was palpable, but so was determination. For the first time, they weren't just rioting. They were escaping, guided by a plan they could believe in. And Daniel's quiet confidence was their only beacon in a storm of chaos. The narrow maintenance tunnel was dimly lit, the air thick with dust and the metallic scent of old machinery. Daniel led the way, crouching low, each step calculated to avoid triggering alarms or collapsing rusted grates. Behind him, Marcus, Jason, and a handful of others followed, their breathing loud in the confined space. "Keep moving," Daniel whispered. No noise. No hesitation. Every shadow seemed alive. Rats scuttled across the floor, echoing the inmates' rising tension. A sudden clang made heads snap toward the sound, an unsecured pipe shifting underfoot. Marcus's hand shot out, steadying it before it fell. A quiet nod from Daniel reassured him. Every small victory mattered. Minutes stretched like hours. The group's whispered coordination became their lifeline. Daniel checked every junction, memorizing turns and dead ends, mapping an escape route only he fully understood. "Almost there," Daniel muttered, sensing the faint draft of the outside vents. Hope flickered, fragile but real. Fear still gnawed at them. Any wrong move could alert the guards or trap them in the maze forever. Yet, in that tunnel, a bond was forming. These men, once strangers, were united by a single purpose: survival. And Daniel's calm determination was the only thing standing between them and a horrifying fate. The group had almost reached the end of the maintenance tunnel when a loud metallic screech echoed through the narrow passage. Ahead, a rusted security hatch had jammed, blocking the way forward. Panic threatened to rise, but Daniel's calm voice cut through. "Stay calm. We can't turn back now." Marcus slammed his fists against the hatch, but it barely budged. Jason's hands shook, and a younger inmate whimpered. Daniel's mind raced. "Look around," he whispered. His eyes landed on a pipe overhead, partially loose from years of neglect. "We can use this. It's risky, but it will work. Everyone, follow my lead." One by one, the inmates climbed onto makeshift supports, Daniel guiding them like a conductor. The hatch rattled, sparks flying as they forced it open from above. Heartbeats raced. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, with a loud metallic groan, the hatch swung open. Relief flooded the group, but Daniel held them back. "Not yet," he warned. "We're not safe until all of us are out, and there's still a perimeter of guards outside." For a fleeting moment, fear and hope collided, but Daniel's presence reminded them that even in the darkest tunnel, leadership could light the way. The group crawled through the hatch and emerged into the open air behind the prison. Moonlight spilled over a narrow service yard, but freedom felt fragile. Guards' flashlights swept across the grounds, and distant shouts echoed through the night. "Stay low," Daniel hissed, pressing everyone into the shadows. Heartbeats thundered in ears. Every step could mean capture, or worse. Marcus gritted his teeth, muscles coiled, ready to fight if needed. Jason clutched Daniel's arm, eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. They moved in tight formation, slipping past patrols, avoiding loud gravel and snapping twigs. Each step forward brought them closer to safety, yet danger was palpable. One misstep could trigger alarms, unleashing the full might of the prison on them. Daniel signaled to a side gate he had scouted earlier, a rusty, seldom checked exit leading to an abandoned maintenance road. "We're almost there," he whispered. "Just a little further, and we can vanish before they even know we're gone." The inmates exchanged glances, adrenaline mixing with trust. Behind every cautious step, Daniel's plan held them together. Fear was still their shadow, but hope, carefully nurtured by one quiet man, was finally taking root. Just as Daniel's group neared the side gate, a sudden flashlight beam cut across the yard. "Halt!" A guard barked, gun raised. Panic rippled through the inmates. Marcus tensed, ready to charge, but Daniel held up a hand. "Wait," he whispered. The guards advanced, confident they had the fugitives cornered. Daniel scanned the yard, calculating every angle. He noticed a small stack of crates nearby and a thin, rotting fence along the perimeter. Thinking fast, he grabbed a rusted chain from the crates and flung it toward the fence. Sparks flew as it hit, drawing the guards' attention. "Over there," Daniel shouted, pointing the other way, and the group bolted toward the fence. Shouts and gunshots followed, but Daniel had anticipated it. "Keep moving. Don't stop for anything." They scrambled over the fence, cutting themselves on splintered wood but never slowing. The guards' voices faded behind them, the chaos of pursuit echoing in the night. For the first time, the group tasted the exhilaration of survival. Fear was still present, but adrenaline and trust in Daniel carried them forward. He had turned a moment of near capture into a triumph, proving that leadership and quick thinking could outmatch brute force, even under fire. Beyond the fence, a narrow forest path awaited, dark, uneven, but promising safety. The inmates, bruised and battered, pushed forward, every step a test of endurance. Leaves rustled underfoot, and distant dogs barked, but Daniel's steady presence kept panic at bay. "We're almost there," he whispered, scanning the path ahead. His voice was calm, anchoring the group in a storm of exhaustion and fear. Jason stumbled, blood running from a scraped elbow. Marcus steadied him without words. Together, they moved like one unit, each relying on the other. Suddenly, a patrol vehicle roared down a nearby road, headlights piercing the darkness. Daniel froze, evaluating options. "Quick left. Through the creek," he commanded. Mud and water splashed as they plunged into the cold stream, hiding under overhanging branches. Their soaked clothes clung, but the creek's shadows shielded them from the guards' searchlights. Emerging on the other side, hearts pounding, the inmates looked around at the open fields stretching ahead. For the first time that night, fear gave way to hope. They were battered, but alive. Daniel Parker, calm and determined, had led them through every nightmare step, and now, freedom was within reach. The first rays of dawn painted the horizon as Daniel and the group stumbled into a small, abandoned farmhouse at the edge of the field. Exhausted, soaked, and battered, they collapsed onto the floor, the weight of the night's ordeal finally settling in. Silence, broken only by ragged breathing, enveloped them. Marcus looked at Daniel, eyes glistening. You saved us," he said, voice thick with gratitude. Jason nodded, tears streaking his dirt-stained face. "I thought we were done for. You had a plan, and you didn't panic once." Daniel shook his head, a humble smile touching his lips. "We saved each other," he said softly. "I only showed the way. You all made the choice to survive." Outside, the distant hum of the prison receded into memory. These men, once strangers, enemies even, had formed an unbreakable bond. Fear had turned into courage, chaos into strategy, and desperation into hope. As the sun climbed, painting the farmhouse in warm light, Daniel's voice carried a quiet, unforgettable truth. "No matter what they try to take from you, there's always a way forward if you never give up." The inmates, safe for the first time in their lives, understood it. Freedom wasn't just escape. It was survival, unity, and trust.